I'll start this off because 81 actually was a pretty ordinary year for me, to be honest, because I started off the year as captain and wasn't performing at all with bat or ball. So I had a very, very ordinary performance-wise season in 81. And I gave up the captaincy halfway through the NatWest tournament itself. So, yes, I played. I was trying to work it out. I couldn't remember. I played in the first game of that NatWest, which is at Suffolk. Couldn't remember playing in any other games apart from the obviously the semi-final and the final, and the two games between Worcester and Notts. I think I was injured in the Notts game. Didn't play in that, so I can't remember the Worcester game at all because I was focusing on should I or should I not give up the captaincy.
Yes, I think we knew we had a good side. I mean, if you look at it, the NatWest side, there were 7 internationals in it at that time, and then subsequently Kim Barnes became an international. So that in the end, there were 8 players who were international cricketers out of the 11. There was only me, Tunners, and Paul Newman who weren't. So yeah, when I've really, it's come home to me really, over the last few years that it was a very decent side. Yeah.
Derbyshire's run to that final at Lords saw victories over Suffolk, Worcestershire and Notts before obviously that semi-final against Essex at Derby. Many supporters who were there that day will comment and say that game was equally as dramatic as the final itself.
I think possibly because it went over the 2 days, and it was a very low-scoring game, and it was a typical Derbyshire wicket at the time. Did a bit, nibbled about, and I don't think honestly that we thought we got enough. But then somebody can carry on the second day, because I didn't think I batted too long on the second day when we were trying to win it. But I think I got something like 2 for 12 off 12 overs. So I have to mention that because of the 2 won't.
How did you see that semi-final, Bud?
Well, I mean, I suppose it really, it came down to, the last over and the last delivery. And my recollection is that it was Bob and Paul Newman at the crease. And I think they got, managed to get some runs. I don't know what we needed off the last over or not, but they managed to get it down. And then it obviously came to the last ball, and which I think went virtually straight back down the wicket to Norbert Phillip. And they were a professional side. They were a good side then, Essex. Had some top players. And professionally, whoever was mid-off or mid-on ran up to the stumps. I think it was Brian Hardy. And just put his hands out to take the ball off Norbert. And thankfully for us, Norbert panicked and shied at the stumps and missed them. And it went through for the overthrows. And we got home. So it was... It was just amazing.
Interestingly enough, Bud, as you probably all know, that in '87 I joined it. I went to Essex, had 3 years at Essex, and we had this discussion on many occasions of what happened. And they went J.K., Lever, and Gucci, and all these, and these were players. These were quality players. They never understand what was going through Norbert Phillip's mind. Because Brian Hardy was at the stumps.
Yeah, absolutely.
Got time to just lob it underarm to him.
Yeah.
So it was just the occasion that got to Norbert, and fortunately it worked in our favour. So, but they were on about it regularly. They also felt, because it was a 2-day game as such, ended up the weather. They also said that there was not as much grass on the wicket on the second day when we were batting as when on the first day when they were batting. There was all kinds of things thrown at me when I went down there about this semi-final.
The funny thing about the semi-final was that Bob had a benefit game that night at Burton, because it was his benefit year, and we actually went to that and played in it. And how on earth we got away with driving home from Burton that night, I don't know. But It was a very interesting night.
It's the centre of the brewing industry, Tom, isn't it?
I probably drank most of it that night, I think. But interesting as well, without going on too much, in the changing rooms, the old Derbyshire changing rooms, you could hear the opposition because there was no ceiling on it, and it was a false ceiling, and you could hear everything that was being said in the Essex dressing room. And it was quite funny, actually, because to hear them actually abusing Norbert Phillips, who bounced a few people in his time, it was quite amusing, really.
Yeah. But it was, that gave us the feeling that we got a real good chance of winning this competition, because if you can beat Essex, and Essex were a real, as Bud said, a real quality side. If you can beat Essex, okay, it was close, but we've actually got there, we've beaten them, so it was. And we watched the other semi-final. Did they play Lancashire into the semi-final?
Northampton, Lancashire, yeah.
Yeah, and we just felt that whichever side we were going to play against, because we could beat Essex, we could beat them.
Mm. And Jim Griffiths was batting money.
Any of the build-up to the actual final itself, can't remember any of it.
No, can't you?
No, I can't. No.
Oh, that's amazing, because I remember watching the game the next day, and Jim Griffiths was facing Michael Holding to get them through to the final. They were 9 down. I remember that.
Right.
And everybody, you'd have put money on Michael knocking over Jim, wouldn't you? Jim Griffiths.
You would, yeah. Jim was regarded as one of the real number 11s, wasn't he?
Yeah.
But interestingly, Tom, I can remember a bit of the build-up to it. We played some championship cricket, and I wasn't dead sure whether I was going to play in the final, because Barry Wood had come, and as Dusty said, eventually taken over as captain, and I just wasn't sure whether I was going to play. And we played Notts at Trent Bridge, I fancy, on a pretty green pitch with Hadley and Rice, and I nicked one early on off Hadley, and Frenchy, it was a regulation catch, dropped it, and I managed to get some runs, and I still think that is probably because what got me into the side. It was only, I think, a few days before the final, and I think it was between me and Steve Oldham. Don't know if Esso was absolutely fully fit, but I'll always think I had that bit of luck, because it was Frenchy normally would have caught it with his eyes closed. It was just a straightforward outside nick. But he dropped it, and as I say, fortunately, I got some runs, and I think that's what kept me in the side.
Meeting before we went down to Lords, and we went on the school bus, didn't we? And we decided that we weren't going to do what we did in the Benson Hedges previous time, where we all got dressed up for breakfast in a brown blazers and everything. I said, can we just go down and be normal this time?
Yeah.
And I remember Endo saying to me, that means you can have 4 pints the night before then. And that's exactly what we did.
Just calming the nerves, Cole, that was all.
Oh, I was just trying to help people, that's all.
Remember rightly, Cole, Endo wasn't 100% fit, was he, either, for that final?
Endo was not going to play. He was very close to not playing. Yeah. And he had an injection to play.
Rightly, we went, that was the Saturday, we went to Sussex, didn't we, to play a Sunday League game the following day.
Absolutely, yeah. Dust. Absolutely. Mm. Yeah, I mean, it was amazing, wasn't it?
Oh, the bus left at 10 o'clock to go to Hove. And I know me and Wrighty had been in the hotel for an hour. And it's the only time I've ever batted in the Sunday League without a helmet, because I think I was still a little bit worse to wear. And Imran was on, and I hit him for a 4, and then he bounced me, and I remember I hadn't got a helmet on. I nearly ran off the pitch and got it. Yeah. But, it's just amazing that it's the similarities. If you played in the cup final at football, and then on the Sunday after you've won the FA Cup, you won't play a league game or something. It's ridiculous. Yeah,
no prizes for the fact of who won the game at Sussex either. I think it was 5. I think we only got about 130, didn't we?
We didn't get many.
I think it was a combination of celebration, but also, from the night before. But I think everybody was just absolutely drained from from the Saturday. And I remember do you remember it? We didn't get back to Derby that on the Monday. We drove up on the coach, and we got back about 1:30 in the morning to Derby with all the wives and girlfriends. And really, but for that last ball victory at Lord's, it had been a bit of a forgettable weekend, really. But thank God it went that way.
West Bank took over the big end-of-season one-day final, which had for 18 seasons been the Gillette Cup. The first finalists were Derbyshire and Northants, and that was quite a surprise, in fact, because no one expected those particular sides to win through.
So that's a solid side, but I would have said I would rather have played that side from the bowling aspect than have played Lancashire. I think Lancashire were actually a stronger side than that.
Yeah.
But,
I think that's a fair comment.
Yeah.
And I think the reason they changed the batting order was because they got a good start, hadn't they? Just under 100, I think. And then they sent Lammy in to keep it going.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
With Jim Laker, the commentator, let's join in the 16th over. It's 49 for no wicket, and Barry Wood is bowling to Wayne Larkins.
Oh, he's waited for that, picked it up off his legs, beautiful shot, 6 over mid-wicket. Really was a perfect piece of timing. Liam Boson was forecasting that he might start the cut loose, and he's away with the first 6 of the day. So Larkins now facing Steele. Down the wicket, he's given it the full treatment, glorious shot straight over the top. And just bouncing short of 6, but beautifully struck.
.95 without loss, 26 overs. I think the key there is the without loss, and they did get off to a flying start, didn't they, Northants?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I remember we had a little team meeting before we went out, and we talked about if this is going to do anything, it'll be in the morning, and you know, pitch it up. Unfortunately, I pitched it too far up, and I went for something like 23 off first 3 overs. I can remember. But when you still look at that, it was 46 off. Was it 49 off 16? And now it's 95 off the next 10. So it's 40 odd off 10, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
taking it on year after year, the modern era. If you said you've got 95, even though there's no wickets gone, 95 for 26 overs, you really are underachieving. You know that now. But then we thought, crikey, this could be a really, really big total.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't lose wickets with another 14 overs, for argument's sake, it leaves you with 10 overs. Anything was, you thought that any kind of total was available then. So what happened between then and the end was good for us. We must have performed really well after that.
50 to Wayne Larkins, and what a very good innings it's been. And not only Northamptonshire supporters will be clapping there, because this has been a splendid piece of batting from both Larkins and Geoff Miller. And there it is, that's the break they needed. Larkins switches from helmet to cap, is caught by Geoff Miller away at deep square leg. A very, very good 52 from Wayne Larkins. Played some lovely strokes, but that's the break Derbyshire had to have. Larkins caught Miller, bowled Barry Wood for 52. It's 99 for 1. Fortuitous, not off the mark like that, but he's got it on the board. 1 to Alan Lamb, 42 to Cook. The 100 comes up now for Northamptonshire, having been put in to bat by Derbyshire.
That's a delightful stroke. Nice quick outfield, no chance of Alan Hill cutting it off, but that was a really top-class shot.
Mike drops it just a little bit short, and Geoff cooks onto it very quickly, and he rolls the wrists over it, and it's away.
.50 to Geoff Cook, and a good innings that. And a smile of relief and pleasure there from the North Hand skipper.
It's Newman to Lamb. And have to be quick. Very close to
Can we play that again? Can we go back on that one? Play that one back again.
No.
Go on, Dust.
Well, Lammy, I've talked to Lammy many times since that occasion, and he 100% says that he was in. He was well. He said he was well in. So obviously the days before
DRS
going it, yeah, but he reckoned he was in, and I think that was actually a turning point in the game, because if Lammy had stayed in there for a while, he could have been really destructive on the so that was a kind of a big moment getting Lamb out, definitely.
Yeah, it was, Dust. I think he was a super player, wasn't he? And he could have accelerated it if he'd have stayed in. It was a big point in the game.
I was at square leg and he was out.
Was it?
Yeah, I reckon he was an eighth of an inch out.
Hitting the last ball before lunch out the ground for 6. And the pitch in the air could be out. And it's a magnificent catch. Really is a beautiful catch there by Alan Hill.
I think you would have had a deep mid wicket as well, Dust, would we? At that stage.
Yeah.
Well, for me, the way he shaped up for it, Richard Williams, Chippy, I thought he was going to hit it towards mid wicket, so I actually started running that way.
Yeah.
Trying to follow the shape of the shot. I didn't actually see the ball straight away, and then what I recall was Woody shouting, and he didn't shout my name, he shouted Bernard, which is the lads Dusty and Tunners know is my brother's name. We're very similar. And at that point, I knew it was coming somewhere near. So I then managed to pick the flight up and just headed off to my left and thought, well, if I can get some hands on this, I might stop it, But it just smacked in my hands and as I say, amazing what you can do with your eyes closed.
Thoughts was that had beaten him, and he pulled it out of the air in tremendous style. So Miller takes a wicket. Williams the man to go. Put by Hill off the bowling of Miller for 14, and at 168 for 3 now is a Northant score. Well, Peter Willey will be the non-striker as the batsman crossed. Miller to Cook, and after that he's content to just push it away through mid-wicket for a single.
It was a really good stroke to bring up his 100th. A century to Geoff Cook, the North Hand skipper, and what a good stroke. And what a good innings it's been.
Magnificent innings from Geoff Cook. One of the finest knocks I've seen him play. He's looked in total command out there all morning. And what a fine shot to bring it up with.
Done it again. Uncharacteristically, like Hendrick, just straying around about leg stump, and then a full toss, successive deliveries, and Geoff Cook goes to 104. His century coming up at 142 balls faced, 9 boundaries. And that's out, the OBW. Cook has gone. Tunnicliffe bowling left arm over the wicket. $111 for Geoff Cook. None too delighted. Looked for a moment as though he may have thought he got a touch on it. There's a great ovation for the North Hand skipper. Fine innings that, and a very timely one indeed for the team being chosen to tour India. That's a finely placed shot. Feeding John Wright way around the boundary there. Good blow that from Peter Willey. Tunnicliffe now is bowling his 11th over. That's well bowled. And that's well fielded. Peter Willey is run out.
Another look at this and we'll see him. He's right at the point of impact. When he comes, it's a very good decision. As you can see, he's just out.
Well, Barry Wood again, very well fielded. That's good cricket. It was Colin Tunnicliffe coming in, and Wood is away on the right-hand side of your picture. And very quick work there. Tunnicliffe hesitated for a moment and then was back, but didn't get back behind his stumps. Perhaps not quick enough. And there's no doubt that Jimmy Yardley is just about 2 or 3 inches out.
2 run-outs there, and again, modern era, they would have been slated for not diving. You had to dive. Well, obviously, I did dive later on, but neither, he or Pete Willey dived in, and if they had dived in, they'd have both been in. But no.
Good take, Tunners, that.
Well, before my time, you see. You don't wait for the ball behind the stumps. You bring it back to the stumps. That's why it was run out. I could see it was going to be close.
Absolutely. Well, if you look at that there, in the modern era, if it was happening in today, that would be because Tunnis's belly would have knocked the bails off before the ball arrived. So, it'd have been not out.
Thank you.
225 for 6. And that's going to be out. Such a good field of Peter Kirsten. George Sharp has gone for 5. It's 227 on the board now for North Hants. And 7 wickets down. And he's gone, first ball. Newman strikes, 227 for 8, and Derbyshire looking good.
Paul Newman comes in here, it's his first ball. He does well to generate this kind of pace for his first ball. And it's just a short ball that Neil Mander probably wasn't expecting, and it's bounced a little bit, and he's tried to get back and cut it, but it's just caught the outside edge, and a well-deserved wicket, Paul Newman.
It, and it's also the last ball of the innings. Tim Lamb bowled by Mike Hendrick. 235 Northamptonshire. Derbyshire need 236 to win, and what a good job they've done.
The halfway stage then, obviously it's a challenging total that the Northants did get off to a flyer, but then Derbyshire certainly enjoyed the better of the final 20 or so overs. How did you see the game at that stage?
What we just needed a secure, solid start. If we get a solid start, then we've got enough talent, batting talent all the way through to actually see it through. But what we didn't want is to lose 2 or 3 quick wickets to apply that pressure, because that, as we talked about earlier, we were a team who didn't know how to win. What we needed was a top start by our 2 top batters at the top to give us that start, which we got. I'll tell you what's interesting there. Look at those 6 bowlers there.
Yeah, well, it's wrong, isn't it? It's Woody. They've got Righty down instead of Woody.
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
JG Wright, can you imagine him bowling 7 overs? That'd be 126.
For the rest of them. Well, the pitch is good and the run rate required just over 4 and over. I think that's very gettable on this particular surface. Let's join now in the 15th over. It's 41 for no wicket. Richie Benner is the commentator. And Neil Mallender is coming in to bowl to Alan Hill.
And he's gone. The first wicket goes down. Just clipped the stump on the way through and took off the off bail. So it's 41 for 1.
Bad luck, bud.
No, not really. One of the worst shots of my career, I think. That. The only good thing was it got Kerrs in, and we'd got a reasonable start, and it got Kerrs in then with Righty, so it was probably a good thing.
It wasn't 4 for 1. That's on the serious point. It wasn't 4 for 1. It was 40 for 1.
41, Dus, yeah.
So we've moved out of that kind of real danger zone where you can lose 2 quick. You get a lose quick wicket at 4, something like that. You can lose 2 for 10, and then you're under pressure. So we got through that danger area. Even so, 40 odd for 1 was not dangerous.
Is the batsman out, bowled by Mallender. There's a fine shot. Good solid blow that from John Wright off Mallender. And it brings up the half century now for Derbyshire, and they're doing it well here in the 19th over. Peter Willey now to bowl to Kirsten. 4. It was just that little bit too slow and too short and too wide.
It's a fine shot down the wicket. Good old-fashioned cloud over the bowler's head.
The interesting point about the Kirsten situation is when Eddie Barlow came to Derbyshire, he brought over 3 players from. He brought over Alan Lamb, Garth LaRue, and Kirsten, and they all played second 11 cricket for a year. All 3 of them played second 11 for a year, and then at the end of it, we had a choice of which one we got the choice of one of those, and we chose Kirsten. We said Kirsten, and Lammy went to Northampton and Garth went to Sussex. So yeah, this was the change of us being an ordinary kind of side into a side that not only competed but competed and won as well.
But no response again from David Constant. 1 for 1. 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 1 for 1
Well, Timlan here, only medium pace, just short of a length. John Wright giving himself room, and it just holds up and hits him on the back leg. I would have thought that's a very good shout for LBW.
He's got it with a firm blow. And Alan Lamb doing very well to save the boundary. So the applause finally for John Wright goes through to 51. Received 122 balls, he's struck 7 fours, but it's taken them into the 39th over.
That's good running again by Kirsten. It's the sort of thing you have to do in limited over games. It brings him his half century. Goes to 50. Wright has made 59, 129 for 1 now. Oh, good shot. Good shot. And Mallender in trouble there, jarring himself in delivery, and it was very short.
There it is, short ball from Mallender, and John Wright was back onto it very quickly and pulled it away.
It's 164 for 1 now in the 48th over. And he's out. LBW. John Wright goes 76. LBW to Mallender. Kirsten is 63. It's 164 for 2 now.
And John Wright's gone here for another one over mid-wicket. He's misjudged the length a little bit, and he looks pretty adjacent there, right in front. But nevertheless, a fine innings for his team, and he's put them back in with a chance of winning this game.
Off the mark with that one, but just a single out there to deep cover.
Well, I got Woody into Derbyshire. I went to see because he just had a benefit in Lancashire, and then was leaving Lancashire straight after his benefit. And I was looking to try and get some seniority, some senior players in the side, so we could gel with the youngsters that were coming through as well into a decent side. And he was an obvious choice. Geographically, it worked as well. And so his experience, not only his county experience, his England experience, became very much part of us striding forward.
Yeah, he was a fine cricketer, wasn't he? But he was a particularly fine one-day player. I think, I may be wrong, but I think he still holds the record for record number of man of the matches. Obviously, most of them with Lancashire. But because he opened the innings a lot of the time, he didn't obviously in this game. But he also bowled some really crafty medium pace, and he bowled very close to the stumps, wicket to wicket, and swung it away a bit. He's a very, very crafty bowler, and obviously he was a brilliant fielder as well. So,
also, but hadn't he? He was a positive cricketer. And that's what we're looking for. You've seen Peter Kirsten, positive batsman, John Wright, positive, and all of a sudden this kind of slight negativity that we had at Derbyshire was being transformed into a positiveness, and that was created initially by Eddie Barlow. He changed it from a fulfilling a fixture to actually wanting to win that fixture and being positive about it and going out onto the field with a feeling of a capability of winning. And that's what I want to try and continue. He didn't want to actually lose that kind of attitude. And because we'd got that attitude, that's why we went on to win this game. Because you'd got players who transferred from being not ultra negative, but questionable, into positivity, and with Tunner's perfect example, Bud's a perfect example, I was a perfect example of knew what the county was like in the past, and it changed its kind of its methods.
So the break now for Malander, all 3 wickets to fall to this young medium pacer, and this game has come alight. 165 for 3, Kirsten goes for 63. Wood has made 1, and complete disappointment there for Peter Kirsten.
Neil Malander bowls this ball, it just comes in a fraction more, and Peter Kirsten's there hitting around it. Very well bowled.
That's a shot that he plays very well. Anything round the leg area, he's whipped that away for 4, and 4 very valuable and vital runs. Oh, he's bowling with a beauty. So Barry Wood goes out for 10. Beautifully bowled there by Sarfraz, who cut that down the hill. And 189 for 4 now is the Derbyshire score in the 53rd over.
Steely said, because obviously he didn't like getting out, Steely, did he? But he once said it was the best note he ever got, because I think he came in where we needed to push it along, didn't we? And he liked to have a look at it first. I once recall him saying that is the best note I ever got.
Played back rather. I would have thought instead of forward, that one hurried through a bit. A very dejected, disappointed David Steele goes without scoring, which moves Derby on now to 190 for 5. And it's on the increase the whole time. 8.14 wanted. Miller will look for 2 here. He's picked his fielder, I think, and he's made 2 successfully. So those 2 runs to Miller takes Derby on to the 200 mark. Swung in the full toss, and that's a gift for him. Geoff Miller's put it into the crowd for 6. So it's back to 8 and over now, and this is still on. Don't let anybody get the idea that this cricket is stage managed. He's coming back for the second, be a close call, and that was a finger. It was a very, very risky and dicey second run. So it's young Kim Barnett who has to go.
It almost looks as though you run into one another as you're going for the second.
Instead of running down this side, I ran down, because I'd given myself room, I ran down his side as well.
Right.
And down the onside. You'll watch it, and he has to actually deviate off.
He just a foot or so out, whereas if he'd have gone in the straight line, it might have been a lot closer.
Oh, that's in a totally unexpected position. Sliced away, 4 runs for Tunnicliffe, and now it's the Derby supporters' time to cheer.
I wouldn't think Safras will be very pleased with this ball, because he's got most of his fielders on the leg side boundary, and he's bowled that with width outside the off stump. And Colin Tunnicliffe, as you see here, has hit it well and hit it very, very hard. He's a very strong lad.
Tunners now plays 2 shots, which really took the pressure off us. You know, we were looking, how are we going to get up to this 8-0? In those days, 8-0 was a lot. and he got these 2 shots that really took the pressure off. And again, off Sarpras, which was strange.
Did you have a final over target in mind? Did you think we need to get it below a certain figure?
Not really. All we knew is that the figure that was showing, if we were there, it was 1 less than that. And 1 less made a big, big difference. Now, whether they take that into consideration, I'm not sure. I don't know. I've never talked to Geoff Cook or anybody about it. I guess they probably did know that, but we knew. But those 2 fours there took it down to single figures off, was it 9 balls or something like that, or 8 balls, which, you know, it became then 1 a ball really, because it was 1 less than the figure showed. So it was down to 1 a ball, where we didn't have to take too many risks to get 1 a ball.
Yeah, there were 2. When you look at it, as you said, Gus, they were 2 critical blows, weren't they? Because it just took the pressure off a bit. 2 good, really top shots. The
full toss 6, that took pressure off to a certain extent, but these 2 fours took it, because that made it was closer to the end then. These 2 fours took it down to far less pressure than we wanted. And I had a conversation, and you can't see it actually on the frame, but it was very dark, right? So the last thing we needed at this stage was to lose a wicket, for somebody to come in. It probably Bob Taylor might have been next in, because it was really difficult to see it, especially if you all right, we've got a bit of a chance because we've been there for a while. But for a new player to come in, it would have been really difficult because it was dark.
Second run was to win. It's Griffiths bowling this time instead of batting. And there's runs there, and very vital and valuable ones. If it goes through for 4, it's not quite gone for 4. They turn in for 3. No, they're not. Miller quite rightly is retaining the strike. But it really is very, very dark out there now. So Griffith to Miller. And once again it's a single. So you couldn't get a better finish, could you? 4 off 4 balls. And all this in a final here at Lord's.
Yeah, but Geoff had said, look, we'll get him in ones if we have to. And he bowled me, I think he bowls me a full toss here, and it's got to go, and I hit it straight across to mid-off, I think. Yeah. I think it's the 3rd ball.
It'll be interesting to see what Colin Tunnicliffe does here now, whether he goes for the big hit or whether he just tries to run it around.
Well, it says there 4 runs off 3 balls, but 3 runs, of course, would be enough, because at this stage there's only 6 wickets down for Derby. Northants having lost 9, and both sides will remember what happened in the semi-final. Well, again, it's the single. Still quite a number of gaps for the single.
I really did think I got enough edge on it to go down for 4. And I looked round, he was straight to him.
And the crowd, every delivery, every time it leaves the square, the crowd are up, obviously expecting a boundary. Did you feel that pressure and that tension?
Yeah, I mean, I've said it many a time. I think both me and Dusty, you concentrate that much. you don't really, you do hear some of the crowd, but you're just concentrating on getting over the line. I mean, I can remember just my eyes were bulging when I came back in the dressing room. You know, you just so much concentration on the whole day. And but I look back on it sometimes, and I have dreams sometimes, and I think we've lost, and it's awful feeling.
I'm just thinking, 2 balls, 2 to win, 2 balls, 2 to win, as opposed to 2 balls, 3 to win, and that is a massive difference, you know.
It's again a single, and now you'll see the entire Northants side converge on these 2 batsmen.
Colin and I have discussed this many times. You saw the ball come in from Lammy there. It was a shocking throw. George Sharp had knocked the bails off, right? And the ball had gone about 5 or 6 yards. So if I'd have been creeping back towards the striker's end, I could probably have got in there, because he couldn't just throw the ball at the stumps. He'd have to pick the ball up, come back into the stumps and pull a stump out.
Right.
If you want to show that one again, just...
No, I was ready to go. You didn't...
Yeah, I know. I got that wrong.
Thank you. Thank you. 40 years, got an apology.
Well, no, come on. I'm just said to Cole, get something on it, and
Right.
Whatever it happens, I'm coming. I'll be there.
Yeah.
I think that was critical, because, you know, if you go for big hit and miss it, I think it was a real cool statement in a very, you know, emotional time, like. So, but it was good thinking, and as it turned out.
Absolutely.
And plus, you can have a look at it as well. I didn't cheat either at the non-strikers end.
No, dead right. And also, you did say to me, whatever you do, don't get bold.
So 1 run now for these 2. It's now been explained to the public that 1 run is sufficient to give them a tie, but with only 6 wickets down to the 9 that Northants lost would be enough. This could take a little while. There's lots of consultations going on at the moment. Who should go where? That's Alan Lamy's coming in close, because he's one of the sharper Northants fielder. Cook himself is going in close on the onside, and here it comes, the last ball of the match. Only 1 needed by Derby. Can they do it? They're coming for anything. It's a late ball, and it's happened again. Absolutely incredible. 2 batsmen kissing each other in the middle. The scores are level after a long day's cricket. 120 overs, the score's level, but Derby win this first NatWest Trophy because they've lost fewer wickets. They've lost 6 to the 9 lost by Northants.
Well, really amazing, isn't it? Scores level, fewer wickets lost. Derbyshire winning their first ever one-day title. New sponsors.
I don't know whether Geoff Cook, because Geoff Cook was the lad who was at silly mid-on, and he picked the ball up and came into the stumps to knock the bails off, as opposed to throwing it. So whether he'd actually remembered what happened or watched the semi-final, you know, he thought, because it was me who was having to run into the striker's end, he thought it was too far for me to actually beat him if all he's got to do is pick it up and just walk in or run in and knock the bells off.
Yeah.
I think
the interesting thing, what was watching from the pavilion with the rest of the lads as well.
Yeah.
When he ran in to bowl the final ball, I was standing in front of the balcony window and actually watching the game, and I just glanced to my left, and there was Bob, who sat there, who'd played 20 odd years without winning anything for the club, and he was facing away from the game with his hands over his eyes.
Was it?
Yeah, you couldn't watch it.
You know, when you at night, when we're back at the Westmoreland where we stayed, and you think, Jesus Christ, if we'd have lost that, what would your life been like if you'd lost that game to get over it like that?
Yeah.
Hey?
Yeah, it was.
I mean, it was important to the, you know, when you think of the Derbyshire lads, you know, and we were a good team and we had a nice team spirit, but when you've been a Derbyshire lad and played in it, it was brilliant.
Well, first trophy call since 36, 45 years, you know, so it was a momentous occasion, really, wasn't it?
And I can remember sitting up against the wall where we had a buffet, and all the lads were absolutely shattered, weren't we? I mean, it was just...
Yeah, absolutely.
You couldn't really enjoy that till a bit later on, I think. You know, when later in the week, I found it was like we'd done it.
Yeah, it was. It was quite a nerve-wracking occasion for me, I must say. You know, obviously with the end of the game as well, but I didn't really savour it much. I mean, we went, you know, ultimately went back in 1993 when I was briefly chief exec, and I actually made an effort to actually walk into the middle. I wasn't playing, and just look around, because in 81 didn't do that. You were just wrapped up in the game, weren't you?
Yeah.
One of the really good things was walking back to the Westmoreland after the game, and there was loads of our fans in the street as you walk, you know, how close the Westmoreland was. And I saw these two lads, and I said, you know, we had a good day, and they said, we've had a fantastic day. It's to be with us for the rest of our lives. And just out the corner of my eye, I saw a Derbyshire member from Glossop, George Bowden he was called, and he'd supported us for those 45 years when we hadn't won anything. And I said, well, you know, if you think it's the best day of your life, it certainly is of his, because he'd watched Derbyshire for a long, long time and never seen us win anything. It was a super moment, really.
I was thrilled for us, but I was more thrilled for our supporters who, you know, had come all the way down to watch it and had supported us through thick and thin, and they'd never had anything to actually shout or celebrate. So for us, and with all due respect, two Derbyshire lads there in the middle at the end as well, that was special as well. So it all added up to an incredible experience.
People still mention it when I speak to them. When you speak to people, they say, you know, they refer you back to Lord's 81 a lot of the time. It's still indelibly marked in a lot of people's minds. So, you know, it was great and great for the supporters, as Dusty said, who'd been starved of any success for 45 years.